In just 16 seconds, my friend Jerome lost over $6,000 worth of camera gear. He was helping shoot a video, turn around for maybe 10 seconds to review the footage, and when he looked back, his entire camera bag was gone. All this in the middle of New York City.
In October 2020, I was on a shoot with a friend. I was using his gear to help him shoot while I had my camera bag on the side, probably around a meter or two behind me. I was keeping an eye on my stuff, but as we were shooting, looking that way, and we were reviewing the footage, I looked back 10 seconds later and my camera bag was gone.
If you're a photographer, this is probably one of your worst nightmares. It is definitely one of mine. And today I want to make sure it never happens to you. I've had the chance to shoot around the world in different scenarios in many cities. So in this video, you will learn how to protect your gear, how to prevent theft from happening, what to do in case it happens, and maybe how to recover your gear. But first, thank you to PPA, Professional Photographers of America, for sponsoring part of this video. Look, Joure's story isn't unique. Camera theft is unfortunately common and thieves are getting more sophisticated. So let's talk about how you can protect yourself with practical tips that could save you thousands of dollars. So, tip number 1, ditch the camera branded bag. My God, I had this bag. It's beautiful, right? The first tip is simply try to have no logos on that bag. Imagine that Peak Design or Think Tank bag. It might look professional, but that's also advertising expensive gear inside. Use a worn hiking backpack or messenger bag. When you see a bag like this with that pocket on the side, what do you think? Camera in there. So, I even had an Alpha logo right there that I literally cut out on my own, not to attract too much the eyes. And if I have a choice between this camera bag and this one, guess which one I'm taking next time and when I'm in the situation where I know it may be a little sketchy. Well, I'm taking this one because I can fit my A1 perfectly. I could even stash another lens, and this is my daughter's backpack, and honestly it won't attract the eyes as much. So if your kid has outgrown his kid's backpack, it may come in handy for you as a photographer. I actually love to use it on the beach or this because you can leave it and no one cares unless you're not following some of the tips I'm going to share in a second. But for now, tip number 2 is keep your gear on your body. Jerome had his backpack just a meter away, but that was still too far. In crowded places, wear your camera crossbody with one hand on it if you can. Bags can be unzipped or slashed. Your body can't really. And I gotta say, if you're using camera straps, don't hang it on just one shoulder because someone can pass by and grab the camera and you can't really retain it. If it's across your body, it's much more secure. In cities like Paris or Rome, it is a known practice to come and drive by with a scooter or with a bike and grab someone's handbag or whatever they're hanging on their shoulder. So if it's crossbody, they're probably not gonna bother with you. So remember that next time you're in a big city. Now, tip number 3 is don't flash your gear. Avoid changing lenses in public areas, especially busy ones. That wide 70-200 is just a beacon for thieves. If you're in a sketchy area, maybe leave that expensive glass at home. Use a smaller prime, something a little more discreet, so not to attract the eyes. There are hundreds of videos of me shooting in the streets in busy area with those lenses, but I can tell you it's not always a pleasant feeling or something to think about. But luckily, I also have measures in case something happens that we'll talk in a few seconds. It's not only lenses, but also cameras. Some cameras are bigger than others, so that's where a little everyday camera may come in very handy, and you may look like a pure tourist with a cheap camera, especially if robbers are not very used to which model is which. Now, if it's a Leica, it's pretty obvious it's an expensive camera, but an A1 versus this, probably you're a better target with this than with this. So just keep that in mind when you're in an area that you're really not sure of. So my tip number 4 is to use anti-theft accessories. Wire reinforced straps from companies like PackSafe can slow down opportunists, and there is a modern twist, AirTags. Jerome now uses 2 in his camera bag, not just 1.
Now I actually have 2 AirTags in my camera bag too, just in case. Yeah, one in a fairly obvious place where everyone would put the AirTag, and another one under the camera inserts, so that's a little bit more hidden.
Some photographers are even putting AirTags in custom brackets attached to the cameras But like I was saying with Jerome, it actually prevents you sometimes from shooting vertical, or changing batteries can be a little more difficult. I personally don't have 2 air tags yet, but I think Jerome's recommendation is a good idea. But quick story, when I was in south of Lombok in Indonesia, my friend Laszlo, who's shooting right now, got all his stuff robbed, like, when was it, 2 days ago? So he was on the scooter behind me. We were in the small street on a small path coming from the beach, and someone jumped in front of his scooter, grabbed his camera backpack and ran with it. So they knew exactly what was inside, they had seen it, and most importantly, they ran through fields. There was no way of catching them, and they were kind of dangerous with sticks. So we kind of left, but then discovered that his backpack actually had a hidden sleeve, or like a discreet sleeve with his iPad inside, and they didn't discover that there was an iPad. They took the rest, dumped the bag on the side of the road, and then we were able to find the bag again thanks to the iPad that was inside, which is basically acting like an AirTag. So don't dismiss the tracking, but think about what you're gonna do in case someone steals it and you know the position. Are you going to call the police? Kind of think about that, and maybe AirTags are not a solution for you if you're not ready to go after people and if the police isn't gonna do anything about it. I personally don't use bags that are protected against slashing or anything, but my big black backpack looks more like a hiking backpack than a camera backpack. Which brings us to our tip number 5, which is stay situationally aware. This is crucial. Thieves often work in teams.
So this often like someone that would distract you on one side, and while your attention is on that side, you're gonna get your camera back stolen from the other side. So
I personally even had a family member get their phone stolen from a restaurant table where a girl put a charity paper on top of the phone in order to steal discreetly at the restaurant table. Basically, don't zone out even when you're framing that perfect shot. And please ask around or other photographers how this area is before you go. Because in New York City, depending where you will be, and in Chicago, I will act completely different and I will think about my gear differently because of the likelihood of it happening in a busy touristy area is much higher. If you're taking cities like Rome or Paris, in Paris it is very known, and I have a friend who is really good at picking up when she's being tracked or not. We'll talk about that in a second. Because even with all these precautions, theft can still happen. And that's where today's sponsor PPA comes in with something crucial: comprehensive equipment insurance. PPA's equipment coverage protects your gear whether it's stolen, damaged, or lost, but it goes beyond just replacing your camera. They also provide legal support, copyright protection, and even help with data recovery if your memory cards are compromised and you had an important job. Did you have insurance?
I did not.
Do you have now?
I do now. Yes, sir. I mean, I learned my lesson. Hopefully this is never gonna happen again, but
And I realize your camera may be more expensive nowadays.
a little bit, just a little bit, yeah. That's something that I do not wish to anyone.
Jerome had to rely on a GoFundMe to replace his gear. With PPA, you don't have to hope for charity. You have professional protection. They cover up to $15,000 in equipment coverage with a $50 flat deductible for equipment repairs, $350 flat deductible for full replacement or equipment lost. And if you have a drone, make sure you add the add-on policy. I will say I personally paid out of my own pocket for this insurance to cover my gear because it's so important, especially when I'm traveling. And a fellow YouTuber had over 10 grand of gear stolen in Italy recently, and he was very glad to have a PPA insurance to cover his loss. So if you want peace of mind and be able to shoot in the middle of the streets with your expensive gear, just like I do, without thinking too much and over worrying, make sure you check out the link in my description. New members get $25 off their first year using this link. And honestly, don't delay it. I have way too many friends that didn't have insurance, and the stories are never pretty. We work really hard for our camera gear, and yes, we can try to prevent having it stolen, but when it happens, you need a backup plan. And this insurance may be your backup plan, or at least check if another insurance that you have through your home policy or your business covers something. Now back to more ways to protect yourself in the first place. Tip number 6 is never leave the gear in cars. Please, especially in visible spots, even locked cars get broken into quickly. If you absolutely must use your trunk, store the gear before you arrive at your destination so no one sees you put it inside. I had another professional photographer had his windows smashed in San Francisco and the bag stolen with the camera gear. They had seen where they put it. As much as I can, I want to keep it with me. And when I have it with me, I always pass my leg or something through one of the strap in order to keep it really tight, and that if someone tries to pull it off, it actually stays inside. Now, you don't have to live in paranoia, but those are really good tips when you're in very busy and touristy areas. Now, tip number 7, choose your shooting positions carefully, okay? Don't corner yourself. Jerome was near a back path, perfect for grab and go theft. Try to shoot where you have clear sight lines and easy exit routes. If it's dark, you're in the middle of a place, you know it's sketchy, and you're going in that dark little corner and you see people walking towards you, maybe it's not the best place to be. Which brings us to a tip number 8, check if you're being followed. This is especially important in certain cities. Thieves will follow photographers with clients waiting for the right moment. If you notice someone telling you, call them out loudly. They'll usually move on to easier targets. And that literally happened to my friend in Paris. She's a great photographer doing portraits. She was with her client, had her backpack, an assistant, and she saw the guys, because they're always the same guys moving around those places. She saw them starting to circle around them and really track them everywhere. And she called them out and she asked them to leave them, and they all left. Why? Because they don't want to bother. They want to stay on easy targets. They don't want to have to fight with people. Honestly, if it was your business, imagine to steal gear, you would rather have something very easy to grab and go and not have to deal with anything else than having to get into a fight, which could lead to a dangerous situation for everyone. So now tip number 9, label and register your gear. Keep a spreadsheet with the serial numbers. Consider etching inside the battery compartment your initials if you want. That won't prevent theft, but helps you with recovery and insurance claims, because insurances will ask you what gear did you have, when did you purchase it, and what is the serial number. On top of that, that serial number can help find your gear if it's being sold on marketplaces, and also if you're confronting a thief in the middle of the street like this photographer did not too long ago. Well, then you can prove that this is exactly what's in the bag, this is exactly your camera, and it's very hard for them to pretend that this was theirs. Tip number 10 is think about secure storage everywhere. What do I mean by that? Whether you're in hotels, restaurants, or just walking around, maybe try to hide your gear in your hotel room instead of using the safe that usually gets broken into. On top of that, remember to back up on a very regular basis so that if something bad happens, well, at least you're not losing all your photos from the past 2 weeks, but maybe only that days of shoot worth. Now, what happens if the worst happens? You need a recovery plan. So first step, make sure you act fast. It's a matter of time. If you have AirTags or GPS tracking, start tracking immediately. Maybe try to find other people to go confront the robbers or ask authorities. File a police report within hours, not days. Don't wait for it. Once you have that police report, you can send it to the insurance with the receipts of your gear or the serial numbers, however your policy is working. And then at the same time, as an extra step, post on local photographer groups and social media. The photography community is surprisingly good at spotting stolen camera gear being sold on marketplaces or direct exchange, because even if you're buying something, you want to make sure it hasn't been stolen. I've had many stuff stolen in my life, and Jerome's story proved that even an experienced photographer can lose everything in seconds. You may get distracted, and that happens. But with the right precautions, insurance through partners like PPA, and a solid recovery plan, you can protect yourself and bounce back when that happens. Because the worst is to get knocked down and have no way to come back up.
Be safe and make sure that you do everything that you can to keep your belongings safe before something bad happens to you. Always keep an eye.
Remember, the safest place for your gear is on your body or within your own sight. Don't make it easy for thieves. Stay alert, stay protected. Don't become paranoiac, because this is the 0.01% of times it happens. 99.999% of people are good and don't want anything bad from you. So please, just get insurance so you have peace of mind and you can get out there, go shoot, try something different, try something new, and maybe I'll see you in the next one.